Let's bring in former Arkansas governor and former presidential candidate himself, Mike Huckabee. Governor Huckabee, thank you for joining us and for taking the time. What is going on?
Glad to be with you.
Across the nation with these constant attacks on religion?
You know, Lauren, I think a lot of people try to make this a political thing. And I'm going to say something that will no doubt subject me to a great deal of ridicule and scorn. But I think we've got to move this beyond a political discussion, an ideological one. The reason we're having a lot of these attacks is we need to step back and realize this is a spiritual battle. And I'm going to be very clear. The reason you're seeing attacks against the people in a Hanukkah service or synagogues or churches is because there is a spiritual war going on in the world. It's not liberal, conservative, Democrat, or Republican. It's good versus evil. And when we have a society that has rejected the notion that there is a God creator who creates the world and the rules for us to live in harmoniously, and we decide we're going to live in our own way, as it was said in the time of the judges, everyone did what was right in his own eyes, we have chaos. And we have a society that is tuning itself to what we think, feel, and believe rather than to a standard that God's created. And without sounding like I'm preaching a sermon here, when we have that rejection of absolutes, there are no moral absolutes anymore. This is what we end up with. People who just do whatever they want, and they justify it, and they're demonic. This is a seriously ill society and culture that we're living in.
Yeah, Governor Huckabee, Kelly Torrance here. You know, I think you're right. You have to look at the root causes. But politicians, they always want to score political points off these sorts of things. Is there anything they can do? I mean, I'm listening to Bill de Blasio blaming President Trump for what's going on. We've seen the spate of anti-Semitic attacks here in New York City. There's so easy to play the blame game, much harder to look at these root causes. What should politicians and the rest of us, frankly, be doing?
Well, for one thing, they need to quit blaming each other. I mean, the fact that de Blasio is blaming Trump, he's the mayor of the city. What is he doing about it? The point is he can't fix this either. I mean, there may be certain things in terms of putting people in mental institutions instead of them back on the street when they're mentally ill. But ultimately, it's a societal problem. I mean, it goes back to what I say. We've got to learn to love one another, respect one another, do unto others as we would have them do unto us. That golden rule is not out of style. It may be out of practice, but it would change culture and society if we would just live within it, and we don't. Instead, we have people, if they see a red hat with MAGA on it, they beat the daylights out of the person wearing it. I heard Cuomo talking about terrorism. That's terrorism, too. It's when you have zero respect for other people, and you think that if they don't agree with you, you just pummel them, you kill them. We have an abortion society where 1 million times a year we take a perfectly innocent unborn life and we destroy it. What kind of culture does that? Not a very civilized one, that's for sure.
Mike Huckabee, this is Richard Fowler here. So I think this decade will be marked by domestic terrorism, whether it be Las Vegas, the Parkland shooting, workplace violence, the El Paso Walmart. I mean, we can go on and list these different instances of domestic terrorism that marked this entire decade. I mean, and I think you're right to say that we have to sort of pull back from the left or right because this is a larger American problem. But how do we work on sort of coming together, both parties, to solve the fact that we are in an era where domestic terrorism is real, and it's happening in neighborhoods all across this country?
Well, I think it is we stop the blame game, because you have people saying, oh, we just get rid of the guns, we'd be fine. Well, it was a machete used in the Hanukkah shooting, and if it was a gun that stopped what would have been a horrifically worse murder situation in the church. So it's not the weapons of choice, it's the lack of heart, it's the lack of focus in human beings. And when we have an education system that, from the time these kids are tots, tells them that there's nothing that is really right nor wrong, it's whatever they think it is, whatever they feel it is, whatever they believe it is, and that results in an adult becoming where they also think that they don't have to tune their lives. Real quickly, let me just mention, as a musician, I know this, that before you play a song, you got to tune your instrument. What do you tune it to? Do you tune it to what you think? No, you tune it to a standard. We are a culture and society that is not tuning to any standard other than what we want. We're selfish. We've sat around and we've created this culture in which it's all about me. And that is a dangerous place for us to continue going.
Governor, you say you're not preaching, but I'm sitting here saying amen. I mean, that was beautiful. I do want to talk about impeachment. All eyes clearly